Hello, Panther fans. Being joined by Panther track and field athlete Natalie Block. My name is Matt Menzl. Natalie becoming just the second Panther in the program's D1 history to qualify and compete in the track and field Olympic trials, and the first female to do so. And before Block, it was Corey Peterson who qualified for the 800-meter run in advance of the 1996 Summer Olympics in Atlanta. Let's start first in late May. So it's late May, you qualified for the Olympic trials at the NCAA West prelim rounds in Arkansas with a time of 13.23 seconds in the 100-meter hurdles. Did you realize right away that you had a time worthy of the Olympic trials?
So actually our main game was the wind. So I originally had ran a 13:14 in Kentucky, and so the downfall with that was it was like a 2.1 wind, and we needed 2.0 or less. So once I ran that time, I was like, well, what's the wind? We got to see the wind on that. And so then we found the wind, and it was actually below. So we're like, sweet, we actually got it. So like, let's see what happens with that. But yeah.
That same weekend, you became the first Panther women's track and field athlete to qualify for the national meet since 2011, running a new program record in the 400-meter hurdles. Before we talk about what happened at nationals, take us through that, just the emotion of knowing that you had qualified for nationals.
It was emotional for me. I mean, after it had happened, it was like, wow, like it's finally working, it's finally paying off. You know, once I switched over to hurdles, it was a game that we had to play that we didn't know how it was going to react to like the load and just the hurdles let alone. So it's like that worked. Like that was a huge relief. I mean, I was super happy that I finally could do that and got where I wanted to get.
Now let's move ahead to Eugene, Oregon. You get to nationals, but unfortunately had to withdraw from the NCAA championship due to injury. What happened?
I had a pretty nasty ankle sprain. I hit both sides of my ankle. I just came up too short on a hurdle, and it was 2 days before my comp. So we tried waiting it out and seeing if like I could shake it. It just got worse, and I just had to pull out. I couldn't walk.
So following that injury, did you assume your season was over? Did you have hope that maybe it would heal and you'd get an opportunity to maybe partake in the Olympic trials?
So when I was there and I got checked out by Oregon staff, they did say that there was slightly a chance that you could bounce back from this since I had like 3 weeks or so. But yeah, it was kind of like up in the air. We didn't know what was going to happen. So it's like when we get back home, we got to get looked at. We got to see if we can, you know, do PT on it, try to get all we can on it and see if we can get strength back on it. Because for about a week, I couldn't walk. And then I was on crutches. And then I actually hurdled for like my first time the week going into trials. And I saw one hurdle, and then I think a few days later I saw a couple more hurdles. And then that was just like, we got to send it and see what happens.
So as you got closer, did you feel more and more confident that this, you know, could become reality?
For sure, for sure. I mean, I was pretty proud that I could somehow come back from that injury because a lot of it was just we were all sitting on the edge of our seat and we don't know.
And obviously injuries happen, and you've overcome injuries throughout the time in your career. And you look back in high school and you know you overcame injury and qualified for state the next year. Then here at Milwaukee, you've overcome injury, including last season, and have come back even bigger and better. What's been key for you when you look at all your injuries? How have you been able to overcome those various roadblocks?
I would say it's definitely a mental game. I mean, you have to find other ways to do training. You have to be unique. You have to be creative with trying to stay healthy. I would say switching to the hurdles was a big game changer for me because it wasn't like I had stress fractures or anything versus all the other 3 years I had stress fractures. So, I mean, coming to this season, being actually decently healthy the whole season, other than this fluke injury, I mean, I think it was really great, and I was actually very healthy.
Now, you touched on it. Tell us what it was like just preparing for now the Olympic trials, knowing that you're also dealing with an injury.
It was just like we got to make the best of it. We just got to do what we got to do. I'm very hard-headed when it comes to that stuff, so it's like I want to go. I'm going to try my best and see what I can do.
And when I talk to, whether it be coaches, teammates, your work ethic is something they bring up all the time. When we talk about Natalie Block, that work ethic, second to none. So from a prep standpoint, how do you typically, prepare for a meet? How do you prepare for a season? When you look at your workout plan, what does that consist of?
It's very strategic. I mean, and that does come a lot from Basler. Basler does put together a very good program for me, but it's also trying to maintain the healthiness of the body. And so, I mean, everything recovery, that is as equal as your training. And so I feel that as we progress through the season as a whole year, it was a lot of like, okay, we're gonna do this block for weeks and we're gonna see how you react. And then, some days if I was extra tired, extra sore, there was no need to press. Let's dial it back. It was a lot of trial and error to figure out how I was gonna react this season to just the hurdles. But it takes a lot of planning, and I am very active into that planning with Basler. I do love to actually understand that process of how to actually create a program. And so I'm still learning that yet, but he's always teaching me how to actually understand and not go too much, because I love to, let's do more, So no, like there's points where you need to go high into training and then low into training. And so it's just, there's a lot to it.
So when you look at your workout plan, your work ethic, the preparation process, is that something that's, relatively new to you from a college standpoint, or have you always kind of had that work ethic, that mindset, even going back to when you first started running?
I'd say I'd still have the same work ethic. I mean, going back into high school, it's just like, I'm going to go to the track, I'm going to go to the track, I'm going to go to the track. And then it's part of my lifestyle. There's just not a day that it's just like, it's hard being there. It's something I really like to do, and I feel that that's where I belong,
So if you're not injured, if you're 100% healthy, how often do you run? Do you run every day? And if so, how many miles?
It's not really miles. I would say usually we have like 1 or 2 harder workouts. That's more like a tempo extensive kind of thing. That's where my biggest load is from. I mean, it'd be max probably 1,200 meters. But otherwise, it's a lot of speed, hurdle work. And I will have like a break day in between the week. We found that actually really worked for me.
So when we sit here in the summertime, do you take time off, or do you start already preparing for the 2024-25 school year?
So usually, since I did have a longer season, I'm just coming off of that. We're gonna try to heal the ankle right now because I'm obviously not healed right now. So we're gonna try to heal that ankle. We did kind of push it to just get to the trials, but now we're gonna maybe take a step back and just kind of let it, heal on its own. And I'll just probably hit some swim workouts or the bike or something just to be kind to it. But usually I would hit the track right away.
And we talk about the Olympic trials too, and as your season was extended, besides the 100-meter hurdles, you also qualified for the Olympic trials in the 400-meter hurdles, but again opted to focus on the one event. Was that an easy decision to make? Was that an obvious decision to make with the injury?
So with the injury, that's essentially why we made the decision. If I was healthy, I probably would have pulled the trigger on both. But coach may have had to tell me only one. So that would have to be another conversation if I was in that proposition of being whole and heal. But going there, I knew that it was probably going to be best for my ankle to just go straight. Being on that curve would really hurt me. And I alternate in the hurdles, so then I'm using that leg on the coming down, and so I knew that wasn't going to be a good idea.
Take us back to June 28th. You're in Eugene, Oregon. You're scheduled to compete in the second heat of the 100-meter hurdles. Take us through your day. What's the mindset? Were you nervous? Were you able to relax? How did you go about just to that moment when you actually went out there and competed?
I felt at home. I liked where I was. It was unique to see everybody, that's for sure. You see a lot of people on social media, and there's a lot of hype about some things, and you really see who people are. And that's a huge thing. And so I kind of thought to myself, how would I want to be? How would I want to be viewed? And so when I was like that, I kind of carried myself of how I would usually. Nothing really changes when I'm there, because why would I start to change when I've been doing it the whole time, the whole season? So I was humble, I was quiet, but in my head I was like, this is where I want to be. I love this is home. It felt natural. I know as much as the performance wasn't what I obviously wanted due to the ankle injury, but we knew that track and field is also a mental game. And so being at track, in that track specifically, I feel like I had achieved the mental side. Like, it's huge going to somewhere like that and then that amount of pressure, but I didn't feel that pressure. So I was very happy and content with that.
Well, you say you felt like you were at home. Obviously, you have a lot more fans in the stands. There are TV cameras.
Yeah.
Are you able to just, block that from your mind? Do you notice any of that attention, that the more eyeballs that are on the event, the cameras, or again, is that just something that you don't even think about?
I didn't really think about it, but I did see a lot of it, and it was more so to some of the more elite athletes that have broke their way through. I mean, there's TV crews surrounding them, and I personally believe that I wouldn't want that, just because I'd want to be in my own zone, and I would want my personal space. So.
Well, as you mentioned, okay, you're dealing with the ankle injury, fine. Mm-hmm. But overall, what did you think about your performance, or what did you learn about that performance?
We knew that it was just, it's not going to be what you usually run. And so I think mentally I had to prepare of, this isn't going to be how you want it to turn out, but you're here. So be grateful for that opportunity that you got here, and that I could still feel out this feeling of being at the trials. And so I think that was still a major stepping stone in my career to get to that level, because now I know I'm familiar with the environment. It's crucial in track and field to know the environment and like to be confident within yourself. And I mean, it has taken a lot of time for myself to figure out how to be calm within and no anxiety, and to actually be truly confident within yourself, to be on that line. And I mean, that's not only just for the trials. That was as I was going through the whole season. It was a huge mental year. And so, I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be a time that I wanted, but just to get through with it and do it, that's what I wanted. And so I was proud of that.
So did you notice the ankle? Did you feel it? Did you?
Oh yeah, I felt it every hurdle. I felt it every hurdle. And it is what it is. Like, I knew that was going to happen. It's not going to be pleasant, but I wanted to be there. I wanted to do it, and I did. So.
You take a look at the last month. It's been like an emotional roller coaster ride, I'm sure. You go from qualifying for nationals, can't compete, but then all of a sudden you find a way to battle through injury, and you make it to the Olympic trials, which, again, many can't say. You've done it now, and you still have more, college eligibility remaining. Take us through the last month and how you've been able just to, I guess, cope with all the emotions, the highs and the lows.
It would definitely be faith. I mean, this whole year I've really pressed into my faith, and that's what carried me, and that's what really made me calm. I give it all to God on that one. That's what really helped me. I never really sought like therapy to like how to cope with some things. It was just I went to God about things.
Do you think that just go back maybe 4 years, you think you would have handled it the same way you can now and you have now?
I know I've always had faith, and that when I was rooted and grown up like that, but I think that I'm on a whole nother level right now where I didn't have that understanding that I do now. And so I would say, no, I'm definitely different from what I would be when I was younger. And
you've talked about your confidence. How much has that confidence grown in your time here at Milwaukee?
Oh, absolutely, like through the roof. And I mean, a lot of it takes like your own building too. It's not just like what you do here, it's what you do outside. It's not just what's on the track, it's what you do outside of the track. And so I think a lot of it was the routine, the discipline that I had taken a part of, and that I had to mentally be like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and then I know this is gonna work. You have to take confidence in that.
Qualifying for the Olympics, is that the goal?
Oh, eventually, yes.
Has it always been a goal, or is that something that all of a sudden, now that you come to Milwaukee, you start putting up the kind of times that you've been able to put up, when it all of a sudden starts to look like it's a possibility, did that become a goal then, or has it always been?
I knew I always felt different when I was young. My mom always said, you always were telling me, like, there's something different about you. And, like, I know I originally always told my parents, like, whenever like there was something Olympics on, I was like, I want to be there. I want to do something like that. And then like running kind of picked up, and I was young when this was. Like, I think this was a little bit before I actually started running. So then it kind of just evolved as I was younger, and then I was like, yeah, like I want to go for this. I want to do this. And then it was just more of a step-by-step thing. And I mean, obviously like the Olympics is a goal. And so that once it got more in sight, it was like, okay, I'm on the path where I'm supposed to be. I know that I'm on my way there. That's really it. Yeah, it's making sure that I'm on the way there. That was it.
Do you remember the first Olympics you ever watched?
No, but I do remember this one commercial that like forever stuck with me, and there was this one song in it too. It was like Stronger Than I've Ever Been, and it was where a girl kept failing, and I think she was like ice skating or something, and I just remember that. I was like, I feel like that I felt really strong with her, and I resonated with her because it's like, yeah, like I've gotten so many injuries, and I keep bouncing back, and that resilience is there, and so that's what really encouraged me.
Have you ever had a moment where you said, man, I can't do it anymore, and you had to really dig down deep and power through? Have you been able to always, some way, somehow overcome?
I feel like there can be some dark times in the field, and so it's trying to find where you can push through that, and I think that's when also having a coach like Basler actually support you through that. And so that's where him and I got really close on that too. It's because there's that mental. And so when I communicate to him on that, like, and when there's something that maybe it's like a darker spot in my training, I'll go to him about it, and he will kind of like help pick me up a little bit, or like realign my vision a little bit. And like as long as I know it's there, like, because it's ingrained in me. So I'm always going to be running. I'm always going to be training no matter what. I mean, not every day is 100%. And so understanding that and just still doing the thing, that's what's going to get you there.
Let me ask you about Coach Basler. Can you talk about what he's meant to you? How important has he been to your career and your success?
Oh my gosh. He has done so much for me. And I mean, he has really taught me a lot too. And so I couldn't thank him enough to bring me where I am today and put forth all that effort and allowing me to be where I am. He's a great guy.
And here in Milwaukee, you've already accomplished a ton. I mean, your name's all over the record book. I mean, you have all kinds of accolades. What are you most proud of so far in your time as a Panther?
I think it's doing what I did and coming from like this kind of school, because a lot of people do think that it's like, oh, D3 or D2, you won't make it. You won't make it. And it's just like, you can make it. It's just you have to have that up top that you can. And so I have a coach that fueled that. And so that's what really helped me just go through the roof. And I think that once you really master, like, I don't have to be at a prestigious or like really big kind of university or program. Like, it's what's really at heart of things. And Basler is what makes this program like very I don't know how to describe it, but like whole, and there's so much more to it, and it kind of gives me like a Rocky feel, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's like, you have like almost bare minimum, but I'm doing the most with it. What can I do with all the tools I have in this box? Versus others have like all these options for recovery, treatment, and it's like, we don't always have that. So it's like, what can I do? And so, I mean, with Basler, he has created a big idea of like just working with what we have, and it's not impossible. Nothing's impossible. And
how neat that you've done it essentially in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're down the street from your house.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice being at home too.
Oh, I bet. Nice luxury to have.
Yeah.
So that's got to help too, going through some of these down times. I mean, you're right there.
Right. It's always nice being at home.
So as you turn the page and you start to look toward the 2024-25 school year, what is your focus? Do you have goals already set? Do you have a game plan already going into the next school year?
I definitely have a list of things that I want to reevaluate and with my training, and how I can make it more efficient, how I can look at details and look at some problems I had as an athlete of, what can I work on? How can I make this better? So I have that list, and I will bring that to Basler, and we're going to talk about that and go over some things. I think with my goals is just to keep improving. And I think that we have a really good base of my training, and that we understand how much I can take. Now we can probably push it a little bit more, and we can get a better understanding of what my body can handle.
But first things first, get healthy.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Natalie, congrats on all your success, continued
Thank you.
success, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Being joined by Andrew Basler, the Milwaukee track and field cross country head coach. And you look at Natalie Block, she's already accomplished so much here at Milwaukee, but how would you go about summarizing her career to date?
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing for sure. I mean, coming in with pretty humble marks out of high school and, never running the 100 hurdles in high school, and all of a sudden coming in and kind of establishing herself from that freshman year. I think from there on, she kind of really believed that she could get to a whole different level.
How would you go about describing the work ethic, the time she puts into her craft?
It's a lot. Like sometimes, I've got to pull her back a little bit, remind her that the rest and recovery is also part of work, and that was something that she didn't really buy into early in her career, but I'd say the last 2 years, after battling some injuries, she definitely realized how important that rest and recovery is. She's just always on the go. She has to be doing something. She's got to be doing something to improve herself. And so as a coach, it's like there's a lot of different ways you can improve yourself, and pulling back sometimes is a very important part of that.
What blows my mind is she was telling us that she studies film too of the competition. So
Yeah.
She's doing scouting reports on what to expect from this runner, how they go about approaching this and that. And I mean, she's really detail oriented.
Yeah, she is, and she holds me accountable for that as well, and she'll send me videos that she finds of other athletes, other hurdlers, and we'll pick apart their technique. She sees something that's different that she does that she maybe sees in the elite level hurdlers, and so we talk about that. Obviously each hurdler is different, right? There's not going to be a cookie cutter way that you're going to get through the hurdles, but you do find trends that are important, and so we're constantly looking at video, whether it's through TikTok or Instagram, and of other hurdlers, and really helping fine-tune how to change her technique to just find that 1%, 2%, 3% improvement for her.
Now, has her technique changed a lot since she stepped on campus?
Oh yeah, drastically. And I'd say especially this year, we really focused, and she really focused on her craft, her hurdle technique. And I was able to attend a really good clinic at the Olympic Training Center this summer where I was able to learn a lot of different things about some hurdling technique that maybe just I hadn't had my mind open to, and I was able to bring that back and try it with her, and it's really clicked for her.
Well, how tough was it for her? She missed last spring with injuries, so then she comes back, and you talked about that mindset coming in. It almost seems like she's trying to make up for lost time.
Yeah, I mean, I think some previous injuries, part of that had to do with going down the avenue of trying the heptathlon, and just that training load that you need working on 7 events. It was just kind of too much for her. And so we decided just to really focus on hurdles, and I think that allowed her to stay healthy through the entire indoor and outdoor season.
Of course, she qualified for nationals in the 400-meter hurdles. Unfortunately, had to drop out due to injury. From a coaching standpoint, obviously it's tough. What do you say to an athlete in a moment like that? The high of qualifying for nationals, but then the low of an injury happens, and all of a sudden you can't go out there and compete.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. Just the joy at the first round of nationals of her finally accomplishing that goal that she set for herself, and then being at the national championships on the practice day, and just having kind of a freak injury of a rolled ankle. It is tough, but I think both Natalie and I have operated with the mindset that, where God has us at this time is where He's meant to have us, and maybe it just wasn't her time yet, right? And so we're really operating on that, just believing and trusting the process of, okay, this is where we're at today, and we're just gonna do the best with what we got today. And if an injury happens, it was tough. I know it was tough on her. It was tough as a coach too, but we still have our mind on that goal, and the goal just maybe got delayed a little bit.
And you look at trusting the process. Okay, the ankle injury occurs. At that point, do you figure the season's over, or do you still have hope that maybe, just maybe, that she'd be able to find a way to heal to some degree, and had obviously qualifying time for the Olympic trials, that she'd get that opportunity and be able to go back to Eugene and compete? Yeah,
I mean, it was definitely 2 things we were kind of holding out on. One is she going to get accepted into Olympic trials for either of the hurdle events, and and as that deadline approached, it was looking like it was going to be good for both hurdle events, and the two was like, can this ankle come back around? And I think Natalie's process that she has had in place for a really long time with sleep, nutrition, supplements, just everything that she's done to prepare her body to be at the best, I think that really helped her get through this ankle injury in a ridiculously fast amount of time. And you know, after that first weekend where the swelling was gone and she was already like off of crutches, okay, this could happen, and then each day we just took it a little bit at a time, like what can you do? And literally a week before she was supposed to run at the Olympic trials, we decided, let's try some hurdling, you know, and she got in the blocks and probably did like 12 to 15 reps over a collapsible hurdle, just in case she hits it. It's not a real hurdle. And then, you know, 3 days later, we're going through 5 hurdles, and she's able to like recover pretty decent the next day. And so we're like, well, I think we're ready to give it a go. We knew going in, we didn't have any expectations from a result standpoint, but I think just the experience and being there was an important part on her journey to where she wants to go as an athlete.
Now, from a competition standpoint, what did you see from one night to the next that she was able to advance to the semis?
Yeah, I mean, I think from, you know, not running a 100 hurdle race for 5 weeks, I mean, that's huge for hurdles, because that event particularly, the more competition rhythm you have, the better you are, and she just didn't have that competition rhythm since the first round of nationals. So after that first race, it was kind of like, okay, she was really focused on how that foot was going to feel, and she was hyper-focused on it during the race. So then once we're like, okay, it's going to hurt. Like, you know what to expect now. And I feel the semifinal race, she got out a lot more aggressive. But then I do think just having raced on that ankle the night before and just also not having that, like, that rhythm, that competition rhythm kind of caught up with her in the semifinals. But she definitely attacked more aggressively in the semifinal race than she did in the first round race.
When you look at the atmosphere, she said it felt like home, like there was a comfort there. As a coach, do you have to address any of that? Do you talk to her about, hey, what to maybe expect, or was it all technique and just how you go about going out there and competing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being there, you know, 3 weeks prior for the national championships, you know, she got to experience at least the aura of Hayward Field in Eugene, and you know, even then, she looked like she was at home, right? And then heading into the Olympic trials, I just mentioned like, hey, we're going back to Eugene, but things are going to be a little bit different. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, well, there's going to be more distractions. Like, you're going to have camera crews following around these elite athletes, and there's just going to be cameras everywhere. And that was my preparation for her. Like she knew what she was getting into, and like being at the practice facility, having a practice on Hayward Field, you know, down there when Grant Holloway's, you know, practicing, like she was in her own zone, like, and really like watching her operate during practice and even competing, it was like, yeah, she belongs at that stage, and it didn't rattle her being there for the first time, and she knows she belongs at that stage.
From what you saw, from what you've seen, what can she do down the road? Obviously, the goal is to make the Olympics one day.
Right.
What can she do to get to that level? What steps can she take, or does she need to take to get to that level?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year was a huge year for both of us, just focusing on the hurdles and learning like what worked, what didn't work. But even reviewing the film from the Olympic trials, like we're just seeing some major technical issues that we knew were there this year that we slowly addressed, but this summer is going to be a main focus that is really going to allow her to continue to drop her time, I believe, in both hurdle events.
So finally, you know, to piggyback off that, when you look ahead to the 2024-25 school year, what becomes the focus for Natalie Block? What do you hope to see? What steps do you hope she takes here this next school year as she, again, competes for the Panthers? Yeah,
I mean, I think setting the tone right off the bat that going after a national championship for her isn't out of the realm. Like, I feel that she believes she can be the best in the NCAA, and I feel like she has the work ethic and the elite mentality to get to that level, and that's going to be the goal that we set. I mean, there's no reason to set a goal that's right there to grab. Like, you know, I feel when you set goals, we want to be able to like see them, but maybe not just be able to reach out and grab them with our fingertips. And she's definitely in a position where like that's going to be kind of our expectation going into that next season.
Well, Coach, enjoy the rest of your summer. All the best next school year, and thanks for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.